Welcome to Public Forum, a community outreach program produced by North Idaho College located on Lake Coeur d'Alene. Featuring guests from around the globe addressing a wide variety of subjects, Public Forum serves to educate and enlighten. Please join host and moderator, political scientist Tony Stewart, in welcoming today's guests.
Welcome to our third program of a 10-week series titled In Search of the Human Spirit. Recently, North Idaho College, the North Idaho College Popcorn Forum and Convocation Series, that is an annual symposium, dealt with this subject, and we brought people to our campus from many places, including some of our own faculty and others at North Idaho College, to put on this series in which we use the Chautauqua format, and certain famous people in history are portrayed by people today. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the Idaho Humanities Council. They've been very generous over the last 6 years as we've used the Chautauqua performance at North Idaho College and also on this program. In the third program, we bring to you a very famous person in history. We welcome to the program Mother Teresa, who all of you know died not very long ago, but left a remarkable career behind. Mother Teresa was born in southeastern Europe in 1910. After becoming a Catholic nun, she lived and worked with the destitute masses of Calcutta, India. Her work grew to span the entire globe, and many people followed her, and she even created an order in which they worked with the poor, those who were suffering from disease. And we today have Mother Teresa with us, who I indicated lived from 1910 until 1997. Mother Teresa, welcome back, and thanks for coming to our campus, as other famous people have this week, to present your thoughts and ideas.
Thank you.
And as always, I'm very pleased to have our two regular panelists. First of all, is Janelle Burke, who's an attorney in the state of Idaho, and next to her is Steve Schenck, who is the Vice President of College Relations and Development at North Idaho College. And Janelle Burke will commence today's questioning.
Mother Teresa, what a privilege it is to have you here, and we welcome you to our program. In your lifetime, and in ours as well, you have become very famous for being a person of charity and of goodwill. Was this a calling that you learned at a very early age, or did your calling not come until you were older?
I was lucky to be born in a family where I was rich in material goods, but moreover rich in the spirit. In my family, we put God in the center. And my mother, particularly, would go out when I was a little girl, and she showed me faith in action. She would go to the streets and take care of poor people. And at our dinner table almost every night, there would be people that I did not know. And I'd ask my mother, who were these people? And she would say that these people were her brothers and sisters. And I thought that she had a very big family. Only later on, when I got older, I realized that the strangers were really what she called her brothers and sisters in Christ. So that was my beginning of understanding that we needed to do something beautiful for God. When I was 18 years old, being very influenced by the Catholic Church, by the lives of the saints, I read them all the time, and I also would read about the missionaries in places like India, where the young sisters would go and protect entire villages from mad Bengal tigers. I decided that perhaps I needed to dedicate my life to God. At 18 years old, I joined a missionary order. Would you like to hear more about?
Just a little bit more about how you got to India then.
I joined an order from Ireland, the Sisters of Our Lady of Loreto, and they sent me to India. But my time in India was in a very protected, lovely school, a high school, for middle-class Bengali girls. And that was my missionary calling then. For over 20 years, I taught middle-class Bengali girls so they could get better husbands.
So you really came to your charity work much later in life.
Yes, much later. I knew about what was going on the streets, but it was not my concern. I love my teaching. But in 1946, I was on a train going on a retreat. It was not a miracle. I did not see a vision. But Christ came to me and told me, it was a command. He said, you must go and work among the poorest of the poor. And that's how that all began.
Mother Teresa, you didn't specifically say this in answer to Janelle's question, but I know that you grew up, the Christian family you grew up in was in Albania, a predominantly Muslim country.
Yes.
And most of your work was done in India, a predominantly Hindu country. Was it difficult for you to create your mission to poor people in India?
Not at all. We are not Catholics or Protestants or Jews or Muslims or Hindu or Buddhist. We are all children of God. And however we go to God, that is something beautiful.
And perhaps I'm pursuing the same line of questioning, and maybe you've already answered me, but in doing missionary work in India, in Calcutta specifically, I believe, and working with the poor people, did you take any political positions at all? For instance, did you take any public position on India's caste system?
We needed to deal with the caste system, but no, I'm totally non-political. It has no interest for me whatsoever. We go beyond borders, beyond religion, everything. I have no interest in that.
Could you tell me a little bit more about how your mission did assist poor people in Calcutta?
When I broke away from the Sisters of Our Lady of Loreto, I had 1 year to prove myself that there was a need for my work on the streets. My mission began by taking a few children from the gutters and starting a school. We had no building, no chairs, no paper, no pencil, no books. We started under a tree, sitting on the ground, and learned the Bengali alphabet by writing in the dirt with a stick. And within a few weeks, we had 50 children and started the school. We also would work with the deaf and the dying. I remember when I first started on the streets, there was a woman in the gutter. People were walking around her, over her. She was dying, and nobody would stop. So I picked her up, and this was the first. You have to begin with the first person. I took her to hospital upon hospital. Nobody would treat her. They said she was dying. She was of the lower caste, the untouchables. Take her back to the streets and let her be picked up with the garbage tomorrow. She was being eaten by the rats and by the ants. But we took her and gave her love in her last few moments. And that is one of the kind of work we do. And that's where we have some problems with the caste system.
Thank you very much.
I want to build up on Steve Shink's question, Mother Teresa. You started with a school and you were a teacher, and then you went to, as you indicated, Calcutta, and you worked with the sick and the poor. Would you just share with our audience, and we have such a brief time with you here, but thank you for coming to our campus and sharing with our viewers. Share how your ministry, your missionary work spread, and just give us all the different compartments. And I know your love for children, and that became another component. At the end of your life, how many countries were your assistants involved with this work, and what all did it include?
Well, the most famous is probably with the dying, but that is not our most important job. With children, we take every child, we try to fight abortion with adoption. We have over 40 homes for children just in India alone. We work with lepers. We have started communities for those poor people. They are more like dead than alive. But with monitoring and proper kind of medicine, their disease can be controlled and even stopped in the early stages. So we work with lepers. We work with the homeless. In the United States, in fact, in 32 countries now. We are all over the world. Orphanages, with the shut-ins, with refugees, with people of disasters, AIDS patients. Very busy. And we have many now, thousands of young people and older people, of course, who help us out with our order and helping those that need help.
Mother Teresa, I did not mention at the beginning of the program that because of your work, you were recognized across the globe, and you won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1979 for you and your people and your work. When you received the Nobel Peace Prize, you took that opportunity to talk about peace and war and share with our viewers what you said was the greatest problem you saw in the world. You were praised and you were criticized for the political statement you made when you received this award.
First, you must know, I do not feel I received the Nobel Peace Prize. I accepted the Peace Prize for God's work. Love can change the world. And yes, people were happy that I got the award, but people were angry because, in my belief, abortion in this world is the greatest destroyer of peace. If we want world peace, and people ask me all the time, what can we do for world peace? I say, go home and love your families. That is the best that I can tell people.
And therefore, you indicated in your speech that if you want peace too, that you end the violence of what you believe abortions were violent.
Yes, I believe that. God says that He knew us from the beginning. He carved us in the palm of His hand. And even if a mother can forget, which is impossible, but even if a mother can forget, God will not forget.
Janelle Burke.
We live in a very material world, but you were a non-material person. What were your belongings like? What did you have that you took with you?
Well, all nuns, all sisters take vows: poverty, chastity, and obedience. We have an additional vow in the Missionaries of Charity where we promise that we vow we will work with the poorest of the poor and we will live like Christ. We will live like poor people too. So all my belongings fit in one box. I have 3 saris, 1 to wash, 1 to mend, and 1 to wear. My sweater, I've had it for more than 6 years, and it's from St. Vincent's. I have a crucifix, I have a rosary, I have sandals. They're sturdy. And if they are still in good shape when I die, another sister will get them. I have a plate, a fork, and a spoon, and a prayer book. That is all I require. Very easy to move and to travel.
And you did a great deal of traveling too. But your work must have been very satisfying. Can you share with us what it felt like to know that you had done things for people who would otherwise not have been helped?
The work we do is impossible. We do work that nobody else can do, but only because we see the face of Christ. Whatever you do unto one of these, the least of my brethren, you do unto me. As Christ said, I was hungry and you gave me to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me to drink. I was naked and you clothed me. Every person we work with is Christ in the distressing disguise of the poor. What could be better than that?
Steve Sheen.
Mother Teresa, you've set yourself quite a task. You chose the second most populous country in the world, one of the poorest countries in the world, at least for its lower classes. And yet this organization has sprung up now in 32 countries. Are you at the middle of all that? And where did you gain your organizational skills to build such a large organization of service?
All my life, people told me that I was absolutely non-remarkable. I had no special gifts except for organization, I believe. I do almost everything myself. I have no computers. I have no secretaries. I don't sleep a lot, but I sleep fast.
Let me ask you a related question, if I may, Mother Teresa. You have organizations, Missionaries of Charity, in 32 countries. Do you yourself travel extensively? Have you been to each of those countries to set up each of those organizations?
I try to go once a year if I can, and it's very expensive. So I went to Air India and I asked for a discount because it was so expensive, and they refused to give me a discount. So I do not take rejection well. And I went back and I said, perhaps I did not make my desires known properly. So I offered to Air India to work on the plane to help serve the coffee and the food and get a discount then. And I think I said the right thing, because from then on, they gave me free trips. And they gave me the rest of the food that I would share with the poor after every flight.
Speaking, Mother Teresa, if I may ask one more question, Tony, of discounts, it cannot be inexpensive to operate as large an organization as you do. Does the church provide most of your support, or do you have to find it yourself?
God provides the support. We ask for no money. We have no fundraisers. And people are so good. They know that there is hurt out there. And every day, people send us $2, $1. God is providing for us. We do not ask.
Thank you.
Mother Teresa, some years ago, I had the privilege of seeing you interviewed on another program, television program. It was a really powerful question. You were asked, what is the greatest problem the human race faces as earthly people? And I thought you would say disease or hunger, and you dedicate yourself to that. But your response at the time was that the greatest problem among people in the world is loneliness. Would you share with us what you meant by that, please?
In this world, there are people who are suffering from hunger, but that is easy to take care of. I give you a piece of bread and your hunger is satisfied. But if you're lonely, how do you satisfy that? And we can only fill that up with love. And we are all together, brothers and sisters, and I need to give you love and you need to give me love. That's how we satisfy our loneliness. And in the West, children are turning to drugs and loneliness and terrible things because the family is so fragmented in the West. I do not see that in many countries that are poor because of material goods. I'm very concerned about the West.
As you travel around the world and you see different political structures, you obviously see many different organized religions approaching, and you're devoted to the Catholic Church. What are some of the common threads you find among the peoples, even though the religions may be different? There may be some major cultural differences. As you talked about the fragmentation of the family in the West, but yet where you were at, there's a caste system and people are not treated equally. So what would be your message to all of these different systems and places? And I'm sure that you have been troubled by some of those, because you certainly treat each person as a equal and a human being with dignity.
As a Catholic, of course, I see Christ in each person, and it's easy for me. But every religion sees the need for love. And we can solve our problems with love. Many people will say that's an easy answer, that we should be getting down to social issues, down to root causes. Some people can do that. For me, I need to promote the idea that we love each other. Every religion tells you to love each other.
Janelle Burke.
Not too many years before your death, Mother Teresa, you met another very famous person, Princess Diana. And the two of you, I'm assuming, talked about your charitable works and things that you were doing for other people. What kind of relationship did you have?
She was a remarkable young woman, beautiful, kind. I watched her when she came to Calcutta. She had a magic with the children. There would be babies crying, terribly upset in the crib, and her presence alone would soothe them. It was something special. We did have a very nice relationship.
And there was some difference in your physiques, in your physical stature. Can you explain that?
I never noticed that myself. Thank you.
But you were much shorter.
Yes,
than
I was
she
much shorter. That is the main thing.
You are about how tall?
I am not 5 foot tall. Everybody says they think I'm taller. I move fast.
But you actually are a very small person.
Yes. Enough to fill me up with God.
And that's what's important to
Yes, it is for all of us.
You move fast, Mother Teresa, you sleep fast, and apparently you must work fast, because originally, and let's make sure I have the chronology down correctly. You were born in Albania in 1910. You gave your life to the church at 18, 1928. But your missionary work didn't begin in Calcutta until you were about 40 years old. Is that right?
That's
in about
correct.
1950. And your original order gave you 1 year to prove this concept that you had developed about the missionaries of charity. Was it an easy thing for you to do in that 1 year, and was it an easy thing for your old order to accept your success?
They were very happy, very different kinds of work. But it was very difficult. I went to my father confessor first. He had to get permission from the Archbishop and from the Pope to let me go. It took 2 years to get the permission, and then 1 year to prove myself. I had very little support because my father confessor, when he went to the Archbishop, he said, I think that maybe Sister Teresa at the time is a little half-cracked. And he questioned my mental stability to go out on the street. If I had not had the direction from God, I would have thought that I was half-cracked too.
Did any of your sisters, other sisters in your original order, think you were not half-cracked? In other words, did you start this project totally alone, or did any...
I was totally alone. I had 5 rupees and a few pieces of soap, but that's all I had to start. But the way that God works, within a few weeks of starting my school, 10 young Bengali girls, most of them my former students, middle-class girls, came and told me that they had heard the call from God too, and they were my sisters to begin the order.
I'm glad you brought that up, because it seems to me that one of your most remarkable successes among many is the success you've had in recruiting new sisters to your order. Could you tell us just a little bit about that?
I don't know how that works. In the United States, there are some orders now that have maybe only a dozen old nuns that are now dying. Nobody joining. But we have new life. Young people who want to live like Christ. It is a mystery.
Do you think perhaps that the answer to the mystery is the fact that what you're doing with the missionaries of charity is so central to the message of Christianity and to Islam and to the Hindu faith and most religious orders around the world?
Gandhi once said, if Christians acted more like Christ, we would have no need for any other religion. And I think that answers your question.
Thank you very much.
Mother Teresa, in India, we've talked already a little about the caste system, and you worked with the poor, those in the lower caste, those who had wealth in the upper echelons of society in India. How did they react to you as your work became so successful, and that you had masses of people that were appreciative of how you reached out to them with your love and with your charitable, because you did bring in support from around the world to feed others and to help the sick?
It's remarkable. We now have people in India of the upper caste who come to our orphanages and they adopt a child from the untouchables, totally unheard of a few years ago. That is God working. They need a child, they want a child, they have love to give to a child. That is the remarkable thing.
Also, have you received funds also from the upper classes in India? You got money from around the world, although you never did fundraisers. Were they also helped financially?
Oh yes, many of the ladies from the from the middle classes, for example, got very much involved in our work as volunteers. They're wonderful. They're wonderful.
Did you ever speak out on the caste issue politically?
No, I never, just the faith in action, where what we do, the work, the fact we touch these people, we help them have a better life, that speaks louder than the words, the action.
But does that action in turn, you think, over time, and that love will bring change?
Oh, yes, yes.
Well, it gives some examples of change, but I mean, really to the actual structure itself.
If you were to come to India back in 1946, 48, there would be no understanding of the upper classes, upper castes on the untouchables. Today, things have changed. The streets, we no longer have so many people dying in the streets because people know that a person should be allowed to die with some dignity, with love.
In addition to your work, does that result in some institutions being developed or places to take the sick that are homeless?
Oh, yes. And in India, if you have so many children like from the streets and you start a school, if you have so many children and they keep coming, the government will help. And if they see that need, they will help. So they're very good like that.
On that note, we want to announce who has portrayed Mother Teresa on our program today and at North Idaho College in our series recently. I want to recognize Mona Klinger. And Mona Klinger has taught public speaking and debate and oral interp and interpersonal and intercultural communications for over 20 years. And I believe this is about your 17th or 18th year at North Idaho College.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
And you are a true star on our faculty. And I should say to the audience that you have played other characters in the past. And Mona, your great talent is to put yourself in the background and really bring that person alive.
Yeah.
And on behalf of the panel and the staff, we thank you very, very much. And you grace our program with your presence.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this program as much as we have enjoyed bringing it to you. And next week we shall continue this 10-week series as we move to yet another issue. We're going to be talking about beauty, and we're going to do that in the context of Native American art and culture. And I hope you're going to be with us as we continue this journey through time in search of the human spirit as this special 10-week program comes to you. Always feel free to write to us and let us know how you feel. Until next week, please have a good week. I am Tony Stewart.
Recorded on the campus of North Idaho College, Public Forum is the longest-running entirely college-produced program on PBS. Each episode is pre-recorded live and is an educational outreach from North Idaho College. Please join us again at this same time next week for another edition of Public Forum on this public television station.